Imagine walking into a dark cave 40,000 years ago, torch in hand, and finding a skull deliberately placed on a stone ledge, facing the entrance, almost like it was left there on purpose. Early explorers who found scenes like this had one unsettling explanation. Ancient humans might have worshipped what killed them. The animal in question was the cave bear, and the story of how humans and this bear were forced to share the exact same real estate for tens of thousands of years is stranger and more dangerous than most people realize. Let's start with the bear itself. Ursus spelaeus, the cave bear, lived across Europe from roughly 400,000 years ago until it disappeared around 24,000 years ago. It was enormous. Adult males are estimated to have weighed up to 1,000 pounds, roughly twice the size of a modern grizzly bear. Its skull alone could measure over 1.5 feet long, with a jaw structure built for crushing bone and tough vegetation alike. Here's the detail that made this bear such a persistent problem for early humans. Cave bears, as the name suggests, relied heavily on caves, not just for shelter, but specifically for hibernation. Every winter, they needed deep, stable, temperature-controlled caves to survive months without eating. And it turns out, humans needed exactly the same thing. This wasn't a case of two species living near each other. It was direct, repeated competition for the same physical shelter. A cave that could keep a human group alive through a brutal European winter was often the same cave a cave bear had been using for generations. Neither species could simply relocate somewhere else nearby because suitable caves weren't common. This set up one of the most literal survival conflicts in the archaeological record. Who gets the cave? Evidence from cave sites across Europe shows this conflict played out constantly. Archaeologists have found human tool marks on cave bear bones, evidence of hunting and butchering. They've also found human remains showing injuries consistent with bear attacks. This wasn't an occasional encounter. This was an ongoing, high-stakes negotiation for survival space that repeated itself every single winter for tens of thousands of years. Now here's where the story gets genuinely strange. In several major cave sites, particularly in the Alps, archaeologists discovered cave bear skulls arranged in patterns that seemed too deliberate to be accidental. Skulls placed on ledges, skulls surrounded by stacked stones. In one particularly famous case, at Drachenloch in Switzerland, researchers described finding a stone structure with several bear skulls seemingly placed inside it, one skull with a long bone pushed through its cheekbone. When this was first discovered in the early 20th century, it sparked a theory that captured public imagination for decades. The idea was that early humans practiced a kind of cave bear cult, ritually honoring or worshipping an animal that represented both a mortal threat and a source of food, fur, and bone tools. The theory suggested humans saw the bear as something powerful enough to deserve ceremony, even as they were actively killing it for survival. More recent archaeological analysis has complicated this picture considerably. Some researchers now argue many of these deliberate arrangements can be explained by natural cave processes. Bears themselves may have stacked bones simply by repeatedly using the same denning sites over generations, with sediment and water movement later arranging remains in ways that look intentional to modern eyes but weren't actually placed by human hands. The debate over which sites show genuine ritual behavior versus natural accumulation is still active among researchers today. What isn't disputed is that humans and cave bears were locked in close, dangerous contact for an extraordinarily long time, and that relationship left behind some of the strangest evidence in the entire fossil record. So what actually ended the cave bear? For a long time, direct human hunting was assumed to be the primary cause, but recent genetic and isotope research paints a more complicated picture. Cave bears were largely herbivorous, unlike modern brown bears, and their diet depended heavily on specific vegetation. As the climate shifted toward the end of the last ice age, the plants cave bears depended on became less available. Combined with ongoing pressure from human competition for cave space and increasingly fragmented shrinking populations across Europe, the species decline accelerated. By around 24,000 years ago, the cave bear was gone entirely, disappearing well before the Ice Age itself fully ended. What makes this extinction different from many others is the sheer volume of physical evidence it left behind. Some cave systems contain the remains of tens of thousands of individual bears, built up over hundreds of generations of the exact same denning behavior, in the exact same locations humans desperately needed to. So the next time someone mentions humans coexisting peacefully with nature in the ancient past, remember the cave bear. For tens of thousands of years, an entire relationship between two species was defined by one brutally simple question, repeated every single winter: who gets to survive in this cave tonight?